You join us in a very sunny Suffolk here at the Ellough Park karting circuit. Hello and welcome to Sunday, round 3 of the FAB-Racing Mini Bike British Championship. My name is Ross McCartney. Alongside me in the commentary box, Lewis Ray. Lewis, we've come off a fantastic day's worth of racing yesterday, and we've got our race 2s and 3s to look forward to later on.
Yeah, we did. Yesterday there was a lot of lap records broken. It was perfect conditions, and today we may have very much the same, really. It's great conditions once again. Sun's just went behind the clouds at the moment, but yeah, well, it's be a great day of racing.
Does indeed. You've joined us just in time for the last couple of warm-up sessions that we have here in the morning. You've got the LC40 Elites out on track at the moment. They'll be followed by the senior mini motos before we kick it all off with the mini GP 50s race 1. So it's all to look forward to, of course. Race 2 rather. We've got race 2s and race 3s to look forward to today, so double the action, double the fun. So we've got the morning session, of course, all the race 2s, and then the race 3s into the afternoon as well, before we wrap up round 3 of the championship here at Ellough Park. Well, as I said, Lewis, a wonderful day's worth of racing yesterday. Of course, all of the race ones that we had to look forward to. We had some fantastic, side-by-side battles, lots of action, lots of drama, and we are looking for more of the same today. Same format as always for all of the races. Wherever you qualified, it is your starting position for all 3 races. Same laps, same length, and luckily same conditions for the riders as well. So it seems to me that there shouldn't be too much of a difference out there. But of course, the track very much rubbered in. There was no rain overnight as well. It's still pretty warm out there as well. Wind may be a little bit higher, but it's dropped off in the last couple minutes. We'll have to see how that's going to affect the riders coming through. And it's, in these last few warm-up sessions, just all the riders, honing in their focus, getting the last bits of that track knowledge they need, because this is the last time that they've got to really understand and get to know this track before the lights go out. Yeah, it is. And then with warm-up sessions, it's also a chance to get your mind up to speed and get really acclimatised to the tracking conditions and just understand what it's going to be like today. So as soon as you turn up to that first race of the day for the second race of the weekend, they can straight away just be on the pace at the first corner and not have to worry about anything, and just understand what the bike's behaving like and how the wind is, especially. I think that's the main talking point so far today, with just how the wind's going to affect them through the corners and through the straights, because it changes throughout the day, and it changes maybe lap to lap. It might affect the braking markers, change it a couple meters forward and further back on the track, but it should be a great day today. And if you've just tuned in, welcome. It's day 2 here, round 3 at Ellough Park of the FAB-Racing British Mini Bike Championship. We're just in the second last warm-up session before we head into the second races of the weekend. And, well, we touched on it earlier, Ross. Lap records were broken yesterday, and straight away everyone was on the pace. Yeah, absolutely. Maybe not so much in these mini moto categories. We know a certain Mr. Mini Moto, Bernie Hooks, just tuned in. Hello and welcome, Bernie. Hope you're keeping well at home. Obviously the wind picking up, the mini motors haven't been quite on the pace, but we've come to Ellough a lot earlier this year than we normally do. We normally come to Ellough around October time. This being round 3 here in June, it's very, very warm. Trap's very, very grippy. Those big wheel bikes, they were absolutely on it. So 4 lap records being broken yesterday in the 50s, the 70s, the pit bikes, and the moto team classes as well. Will we be seeing more lap records broken today? Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. However, one thing to note about those big bikes, although they're much quicker this year around here, it is such a physical circuit. We were talking to Jumpstart Jamie King earlier, who hopefully won't be doing too many more of those. And he was saying he's doing both motor team and pit bikes. Those big wheeled bikes, the bigger Grand Prix pit bike style machines, they're so hard to physically haul around these circuits. And he's saying that fatigue's going to come in, because he's only got a 1 race gap between his motor team race and his pit bike race. Fatigue's really coming into play. This is Jay King, this is his home track monitor. He knows at the back of his hand, and even he's saying he might be struggling out there later on. So for a lot of the riders' fatigue may be coming in if they're doing a lot of races. For some of the smaller riders in the mini GP class as well, maybe they won't quite have the physicality needed to be really get the bike round, and I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit later as well. So it's a very, very physical circuit. A lot of hard work needed to go around there fast, but it's a very fun and a very fast circuit as well, and one that I know is popular with the riders out there. You see some of the mini motos go around, of course, this being the LC40 Elites warm-up, the highest mini moto class for the junior riders before they step up and go onto a Grand Prix style machine. Of course, supposedly it's supposed to be a liquid-cooled bike, but here at FAB-Racing we do allow some of the air-cooled bikes to step in as well to increase the grid numbers and as well, keep the costs down for the for the young riders. So it's great to see. We've got some great names out there in this LC40 Elite class, and some names I'm very excited to see moving up into the GPs and onto bigger and better things in the future, like many other riders that have come through FAB-Racing, riders like Scott Redding, Scott Ogden, Danny Kent, for example, all over in MotoGP. They've all come through FAB-Racing. The FAB-Racing course is the perfect place to start your career as a young rider. It's the partner series of the Bennett's British Superbike Championship, part of Dorna's Road to MotoGP as well, and it's widely recognised as the place to be if you want to get into the Honda British Talent Cup and really progress your motorcycle career.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many names that have came for the series, as you've already mentioned, and it's a really good proving ground and stepping stone onto these series, and it all starts at these mini moto classes, because as we talked about yesterday, these are the bikes that you learn your racecraft in. You learn how just to ride a bike, and it really helps you whenever you go to step onto even just the mini GPs. Whenever you step onto them, it's a new challenge because you have your clutch, your gears, which obviously these bikes do not have. It's just a twist and go bike. So whenever you go on to the mini GPs or a British Talent Cup bike, there's a lot more you need to learn, and you don't have to worry about getting confident enough to trust tyres and start getting your knee down, because you've already learned all that in mini motos, where if you do fall, there's a lot less distance to fall, let's just say, and it's usually a cheaper outcome. So it's a great stepping stone, and it's produced some great talents, and the talents keep coming back. I mean, we've seen this weekend Rossi Banham, Holly Harris, just to name a few, that have came back, and they usually come back. Casey O'Gorman sometimes comes back to Fab, and they help these riders that you're seeing on the screen right now help and develop, and they're all friends, as you just seen there, giving a little thumbs up on the as the checker comes out for these warm-up sessions, and it's just one more to go before we head into the first races of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you mentioned a few names there. One of the things that we're really lucky to have this year is the fact that Fab doesn't actually clash with any of the BSB rounds, so a lot of the BSB riders coming back to Fab, some of them just want to have a bit of fun, catch up with some old friends. Some of them are using it for track time as well. I know Casey Gorman, as mentioned, he's sometimes come back. He's not here this weekend, unfortunately, off doing a FIM Junior GP and doing quite well from the last I heard, so obviously congratulations to him. But some of them do come back just to do track time. It's time on a bike at the end of the day. Of course, Casey O'Gorman's brother Ollie O'Gorman is here, so for any Casey fans, don't worry, you still have someone you can go and support in the I believe he's in the rookies class later on. But it's a lot of big names that have gone through, haven't gone on to achieve really big things, both in kind of junior motorcycle race, but also going on to do international level motorsport, just coming back and just having a laugh, but also just getting and honing their skills on the track. And these LC40 elites, well, they're not coming back for fun. It's the last stage for them to really learn the fundamentals of motorcycle racing, to really hone their craft before they get onto those GP bikes, and then it's all about just really nailing down your skills, getting used to larger machinery that you're going to be racing for the rest of your career on, most likely. So it's really important, and it's a very competitive class as well. Here's another very competitive class as we head up for the last warm-up session of the day, something a little bit different. It's the senior mini motos, big guys on little bikes, and it's absolutely crazy. If you didn't see the race yesterday, you missed an absolutely fantastic one, as once again senior mini motors boys, being the mental ones that they are, delivered side by side racing the whole way around. You can see on the screen, it's a bit of a tight squeeze to get on that thing, I'll say that much. Obviously everyone here age 14 and up, so it's a bit hard to get on, but it is racing perhaps at its most purest. These guys who give absolutely nothing between each other. Obviously off track they're all friends, but on track they certainly aren't.
Yeah, they certainly aren't, and even if they're related like the Birkin boys, they're ruthless on the track. And yeah, I mean, it's grassroots racing, it's exactly what you expect. Everyone in this class just loves racing, and that's why they do it, and that is why we're here at the end of the day, to have fun and enjoy racing, because there's not one person who doesn't like racing here, and there's a couple issues there on the first lap of warm-up, which is why warm-up is very, very useful for these riders. I mean, these issues that you have, this would be happening in a race if we never had a warm-up session right now, so it has time just to have, just to get your last checks in, and it's the safest option really. I mean, although this is not what they want, and they're going to have quite a tight squeeze for race one, until race one comes along, they're going to have time that they wouldn't have without this warm-up session. So it just shows how important it is. I think the riders are just pushing it back, or pushing it to a safe place of the track, which is super sensible of them. It's just great racing in this class, as you mentioned. These older riders, it's such a tight squeeze. I mean, on the younger classes, they sometimes tuck in their legs just to get a bit more aerodynamic, but these riders are so big on these small bikes that is impossible to do. They cannot get aerodynamic, so it's really just you make up all in the corners, which is I think why it produces such great and close racing. It's just the fact that they're having to push so hard for the corners to make up for the deficit on a straight line from some of these smaller riders that are in the senior class.
Yeah, absolutely. Shadow, it's a bit tricky to say the least. It's a very specifically required racing style. So I'll hop on these, mini motos. And you get a few names, some of the BSB people, as we mentioned, Holly and Harris, you'll be seeing out there today in the senior mini motos. You'd expect them to, and something a bit bigger to be honing their skills. But no, Holly's coming back once again, as she has all round so far this season, to hop on the senior mini motos and give it a go. Of course, Holly being a FAB graduate, one of the up-and-coming British female motorcycle stars, so to speak, in BSB, and coming through the Honda British Talent Cup as well. And it's great to have her back, showing her support, and also being an inspiration for the ever-increasing number of young female riders that we get here at FAB. Of course, with a kind of big push to get women involved in motorsport, and Holly is really carrying the forefront of that in mini bike racing. So it's great to see her back here today. Got 4 minutes left in the final warm-up session today. Of course, as you mentioned, a few riders having some mechanical problems out there, but don't be alarmed. The senior mini motos, they are the last races of the day, so the last race 2 and the last race 3s as well, so plenty of time for them to get that sorted, and they've got a lunch break before their race 2 as well, so even more time than you'd expect. But it's all going to be fun and games for them out here. But yeah, as I mentioned, a very specifically required racing style, and it's very I would say difficult, but it's complicated is the one I'd use. A very niche style needed. Again, most people would look at this and go, hop on a little bike. That's really not what I'd like to do. The younger riders especially, they want to get on the GP machines. They want to be going as fast as they can. Moving up into their racing career, going on to the Honda British Talent Cup, which of course FAB-Racing is the perfect gateway into. It's over 60% of the 2019, 2020, 2021 and 2022 British Talent Cup fields have graduated from FAB-Racing, which meant that FAB-Racing could be awarded the Dorna Road to MotoGP accolade, which is great to see. And of course, as we said, we've had riders go on to ride in MotoGP, WSBK, BSB and so much more. We've got Kato Gorman mentioned earlier, him and Eddie O'Shea off in Red Bull MotoGP Rookies Cup as well, European Talent Cup with O'Gorman and Johnny Garness and Junior GP. So it is a great place for young superstars to really kick off their racing career. But of course, these older guys, they're still coming back, they're still hopping on the mini motos and having a great time.
Yeah, they certainly are. And I mean, as you mentioned, with all the success that FAB has had, it just proves that it's working. And Casey O'Gorman, as you said, is another thing that proves that it's working. He's starting second today in Valencia in the European Talent Cups. We all wish him well. I'm sure Ollie O'Gorman and a couple other people around the paddock will be watching because they're all friends, as we've already said. So yeah, it's only 2 minutes left this session, and then we get into the race ones. And obviously, kicking off the day, it will be the Mini GP 50s, which yesterday it was a pretty good race. I mean, Marco Holt was dominant in the Mini GP 50s, and Archie O'Brien didn't make a good start, but he made it up in the end and still finished second place. The real question is, if Archie O'Brien gets a good start today, what can he do?
Well, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, I saw Archie O'Brien doing a few practice starts in the holding area before the 50s warm-up earlier on. So, it's obviously, I'm not sure it's a problem with the bike, or if you just can't find the bike on the clutch, they're clearly trying to get it sorted over there. Hopefully, I mean, obviously it just bogged down, unfortunately, from the start, so hopefully that's all sorted. But, Archie O'Brien, visually, from what I can tell standing at the side of the track, is the only person who'd be able to challenge Marco Holt right now. I mean, obviously the 50s, it's a very tight grid. It's the first time that these riders are hopping on a GP bike. It's very important, for them to learn the ropes. But Archie O'Brien and Marco Holt are in a class of their own right now. It's important that it's a close race, but Marco Holt, obviously Marco Holt's got that experience from last year. He's hanging on, he was vice champion in the 50s last year. He's also racing in the 70s this year as well, but he wants that 50s crown, and he's got that experience on the bike. But O'Brien is just so naturally talented. I was watching when Archie O'Brien came out of the pit early, he was just straight away on it. He was getting the bike down, getting into the corners. At the moment, Holt is slightly faster because he has that experience. He's also bigger, so he's able to physically manhandle the bike. He can get the bike into the corner and slow down and get it down a little bit further, a little bit better than Archie O'Brien can at the moment, because Archie's still quite young, still quite a small lad. But, the natural talent, that is Archie O'Brien, give him time on the bike. I know he didn't spend much time on this bike over winter. Give him time, let him grow a bit as well and get that physicality up. And I tell you, he will be all over Mark Holt, and we will be having a battle for the age, and hopefully that happens before the end of the season, because I'd love to see them two having a ding-dong every single race, because what a spectacle that would be. Of course, Marco as well, bear in mind, he's racing in the 70s as well, so you get to see him. He's up the front in the 70s, really giving it a good go as well. So we've got all of that action to look forward to. And of course, 2 races in each of the classes today, race 2s and race 3s. But it is the mini GPs that get us, the 50s rather, that get us kicked off for our racing action here today. Round 3, the Sunday here at Ellough Park for the FAB-Racing British Mini Bike Championship. Hello and welcome. If you're just tuning in, the Senior Mini Motos warm-up has just ended, and that can only mean one thing, that we are getting ready to go racing here on Sunday. And talking of the 50s, well, you'll be seeing them lining up in the dummy area in a few moments' time as the riders all complete their last few laps on the Senior Mini Motos. Seeing a few technical issues for some of the riders out there. The Mini Motos, they're not the most reliable mechanical bikes. They do like to have a problem every once in a while, but again, that's part and parcel of racing. Sometimes reliability is the thing, and also all of these guys, they're pretty good mechanics. They can sort it out, I'm sure.
Yeah, they can. I mean, as you mentioned, there's quite a few mechanicals. We've seen quite a lot of mechanicals this weekend. Holly Harris had an issue in qualifying, and she had an issue in race 1, so we've not actually been able to see what she can do in the full race. So I think most of the eyes will be on her. Obviously, your main contenders, Will Howarth, your Birkins, Richard Holmes. There's so many front runners in this class that push as hard as they can for each other. But now it's almost time for our first race of the day. Now it is time for race 2 of the MK Mini GP 50s class. As we can see, some of the riders getting ready in the holding area. Not too many there, actually. I thought there'd be a few more a bit early. Some of them maybe being a bit lazy, shall we say. But the Senior Mini Motos clearing out the way. And some of our young superstars that we have here at FAB getting out there, getting into the holding area. Maybe a last few preparations being done on the grid. Yep, some grid numbers just being chalked down by the race directors, Rob and Roger, as some of the 50s boys get ready. As we get ready, and let's cast our minds back to race 1 on Saturday. That was a race for Holt. Of course, Archie O'Brien, we were expecting him and Mark Holt to be having a battle the whole way through. Unfortunately, I'm not sure if it was a clutch issue or he just didn't get the start right. Just bogged down getting away in that second phase of the launch. Managed to fight his way back through to second with, some fantastic battles, against, some fantastic riders. But ultimately, it was the Marco Holt show. Yeah, it certainly was. I mean, Archie O'Brien's been wanting a better start today, and the thing is, these bikes are 2-strokes, and whenever you're getting a 2-stroke off the line, I've experienced it myself, you have to let the clutch drag out for a long time until you get in that power band, and it's completely different from riding a 4-stroke with a clutch. 4-stroke, you can almost dump the clutch and get away with it, but the 2-strokes, you have to just bide your time and hold on to that clutch for almost as long as possible. It's a very fine balance, and if you get that slightly wrong, you can either just run out of revs and then you're practically standing still at the same amount of miles per hour, or you can bog down like we've seen with Archie O'Brien. It really affected his race, but he kept his cool and made his way through the pack. I mean, although he got stuck behind Luke Fitchett, who is, as we know, an amazing defender, really, he kept his cool and then made his way to some great lap times and closed the gap slightly on Marco Holt, but it was all a Marco Holt show. So I think everyone's been wondering what Archie O'Brien can do, and if Marco Holt can really repeat what he did yesterday. We do know at the start of the weekend Marco Holt was slightly ill and had quite a high temperature, so maybe that was affecting him on the Friday, but we watched warm-up this morning and they were both on it straight away. It was almost like a racing warm-up. Yeah, it was. I mean, it was, visually both O'Brien and Marco Holt were just so impressive. I mean, visually you could tell that they were the ones to watch in this race. Unfortunately, the cameras really don't do it justice. If you get the chance to come to a FAB-Racing event, please do, because Mark Holt and Archie O'Brien are 2 riders to keep an eye on for the future. I mean, all of the young riders that we have here, all of them are so talented, but sometimes you get a few, couple special ones, and that is what Archie O'Brien and Mark Holt are doing. As we see there, Marco Holt on the right-hand side of your screen in the Minions helmet, Archie O'Brien on the left on the Vision Track bike in the Spider-Man helmet. Of course, Archie part of the Vision Track Academy, which is having
even more of a presence here in FAB-Racing. A nod between the two competitors as Roger Keys, the racing director here at FAB-Racing, getting ready to send them on their way on their warm-up lap, of course. So for some reason he's outside. You may be wondering why. It's because the light system is outside here at Ellough Park of the race director's box, which means that sometimes you get some people jump starting because they're trying to anticipate, because they can see Roger pressing the button. But let's go through with the grid anyway. It's Marco Holt, your championship leader, starting from the pole position. Archie O'Brien goes off alongside him. He's been doing practice starts all morning. Let's see if he can get it right in race 2. Bo Harris starts in P3 with Luke Fitcher in P4. Byron Johnson is P5 with Frankie Watson in P6. Harley Baker is P7 with Bailey Lawrence rounding out the grid. Unfortunately, Finlay Powell, a broken arm, unable to compete today. Hopefully he'll be back at the next round. But that is your grid for race 2 of the Mini GP 50s.
Yeah, we're just coming to the end of the warm-up now. All attention will be on Archie O'Brien to see if he can get the start that he wants, and really a start that can produce an amazing race. I think they both have the pace. There's nothing between them. This is going to be an incredible race if Archie O'Brien can just make the start. But there's outside contenders. There's Luke Fitcher. There's so many good talents in this series. I mean, every single rider has an attribute that can put them at the front of this grid. It just takes them some time. Frankie Watson's another one, just developing their skills, and over time I do believe almost all the riders are going to be at the front. But it's very windy here this weekend, and today especially. The wind's picked up over the past hour or two, but we are waiting for the final checks to be done on the grid before we can get underway for the first race of the day. They all look to the lights. Lights are on and lights are off, and we go racing. The Marco Holt makes a great launch, but Archie O'Brien messes up again. He just bobbed down to get it started. Now Luke Fitcher is in second place. Archie O'Brien's going to be looking for a way straight past Luke Fitcher. He does not want to get Holt up. He does not want to get Holt out away in the distance, because he knows that Marco Holt has the pace just to run away.
There must be a clutch issue on Archie O'Brien's bike. That's the second time this weekend that that's happened. Out of 2 potential times, he's having a look to the inside already, but able to make the gap appear. Marco Holt already trying to make the gap appear, trying to squeeze away at the front. Of course, he's got this experience of being vice champion of the 50s in 2021. He knows exactly how to ride this bike. But what the other riders make up for in talent, Holt makes up for in talent and experience as well, and that's why he's been dominating this season so far. But Luke Fitcher makes a mistake coming out of the penultimate corner. Archie O'Brien maybe getting in a run, but has to go the long way round unless he can get a toe and a good turn into turn 1. No, Luke Fitcher maintaining P2, but Archie O'Brien is right on his tail. He is using all of the track available. He's pulling to the inside, into the right hander. He's squeezing up the inside. A lovely move. Boy, Archie O'Brien slides up into second place and now sets his eyes on the championship leader in front. But Luke Fitcher not taking note to the outside. He's having a look to the inside, but no, he has to stand the bike up and slow down. Archie O'Brien slams the door. The number 91 Vision Track rider moves into second place, and now he sets his eye on Marco Holt. What can O'Brien do? Can he catch Marco Holt, or does Holt have the pace today?
Yeah, Marco Holt, he almost got 2 seconds away from everyone else in that first lap. It's looking like he's wanting to do the same, but now Archie O'Brien has clear road. This is his opportunity. He has to seize it. Only 10 laps to go in this race. This is his time. This is where he needs to start getting his head down, just putting some clean laps. We're about to see just lap times coming in now. It's a 2.6 second gap. Archie O'Brien 1 second slower than Marco Holt that last lap. But of course, that was with battling with Luke Fitcher and he got saddled by Luke Fitcher at one point. So now this is going to be the first telling point to see if Archie O'Brien has the pace to catch up to Marco Holt, because Marco Holt, once he gets in his rhythm around this track, he's almost unstoppable.
He is. I mean, he set a lap record yesterday of 50.284. He's already less than a 10. He's actually 200th of a second away from that on lap 2. And once the bike really starts warming up, really starts coming to him, I can only see that lap time dropping even further, because Marco Holt was in his absolute element. But Archie O'Brien may be starting to close the gap visually. I'm not too sure how close it is, but they're both competitive. Let's see what Marco Holt can do as he comes to the line this time by. Will it be a new lap record? Yes, it will. It's a few hundredths, but it's another lap record for Marco Holt of 50.260. Archie O'Brien about a tenth slower. So Marco Holt still just about pulling away, but Archie O'Brien very much holding on to that pace. Luke Fitcher unfortunately not quite able to keep with Archie O'Brien on that last lap, so it's still Holt leading, but he's only pulled away slightly on that lap, and it took him a lap record to do it. So that shows that O'Brien once again getting past his start line woes. He's got the pace, but the gap, can he now narrow it?
Yeah, and there's confirmation of that lap record. It's an incredible lap from Marco Holt. It just proves that straight away is the pace, and now it's getting into Marco Holt's time in the race. As mentioned by Ross earlier, it did take a little bit more time to build up, it seemed, but compared to O'Brien, but O'Brien just cannot start this bike. He just keeps bogging down off the line. Maybe he just needs to hold in the clutch for a bit longer, just drag it a bit more. But with the grid, with the nerves built up, it is so difficult to keep calm. And on that lap, actually, Archie O'Brien was 2 tenths faster than Marco Holt. Marco Holt did a 50.5, so 3 tenths slower than the lap previous. So maybe now it's coming into Archie O'Brien. I mean, Archie O'Brien, he can see Marco Holt, and that is a marker. Marco Holt, he's got a clear road up front, and sometimes that it can be quite difficult to, keep it as fast as you can.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Marco, I think he made a slight mistake coming into the one hairpin as well. Rear end of the bike, just breaking loose a little bit, but of course no panic for him. We see some battles further back as well. Byron Johnson challenging Luke Fitchett for the final podium place at the moment. Byron, of course, he's dominating the LC40 Elites Championship at the moment, stepping onto this 50 bike. He's having a great time out there. Luke Fitchett, as always, is a fantastic defender. He's really mastered that art form very, very early on as well, which is such a strong skill set to have moving forward, because it can very much frustrate the riders. As now Archie O'Brien, a new lap record for him. So Archie O'Brien, it was about 3 tenths faster than Marco Holt on that lap, and the new lap record of 50.233. So it's very, very subtle lap record margins, but we're still seeing the go. And now Archie O'Brien, the pendulum potentially swinging this way. We know, of course, it's very difficult for these big GP bikes, right? It's a very physical circuit, and as well, it's warm, it's windy. Of course, the track's grippy, but it may not be doing too well on the tyres. And you're wondering, has Marco Holt maybe gone too early? Maybe he's backing off to try and save his tyres for race 3.
Yeah, it might be. I mean, Marco Holt, maybe he's just taking a little breather. As we said, it's such a physical track, so he might just take the breather just to regain his energy before he goes again and does another push. But Luke Fitchett is, he's having to defend as hard as he can against Byron Johnson. Byron Johnson is one anyway pass. He's looking left, he's looking right, he's looking to the inside at the first corner, but he cannot get it past. Luke Fitchett is so impressive to watch with defended. But Byron Johnson looks like he has slightly more pace at the moment, and it's just trying to find a way past, because this track is so tight, it's so twisty. Although there's loads of hairpins, and there's Byron Johnson making a move down the inside that hairpin, and that is an incredible move for that last place on the podium. But Luke Fitchett got a slightly better drive and almost swipes off the front end of Byron Johnson.
Yeah, absolutely. And talk about commentators' curse. Last lap round, Marco Holt, a 50.149 lap record going his way once again. The gap back up to 2.5 seconds. It's a bit of game of tic-tac-toe here between the two riders on the front. He comes to the line now. Does he go even faster? No, he doesn't. It's a 50.2. Archie O'Brien again slightly slower on that lap, but ever so slightly faster on that lap, but ever so slightly. So the gap's still around 2.5 seconds. Luke Fitchett, though, defending brilliantly. It was a lovely move by Byron Johnson, but again, super smart racing from Luke Fitchett, using the drive out of that corner just to power around the outside. And here's Byron Johnson looking to the inside again, but Luke Fitchett, he's just making him stand the bike up. He's looking to the inside there, because Luke Fitchett runs so wide, but then his line just cuts back across, and you've got to slow down unless you want to have an accident. So Luke Fitchett here is just racing super smart and is holding on to this podium position. Yes, Byron Johnson may have the more pace at the moment, but he cannot get through Luke Fitchett, who once again a defensive masterclass on display, as we've seen time and time again this season. We're seeing the leaders out of our commentary box window starting to get through some lap traffic, so potentially that coming into play. We've seen yesterday as well, of the last few races, lap traffic really caused them havoc. Think of the rookies race, the AC40 rookies. Lap traffic played a huge part in the result of that race, so that's something to keep an eye out for. Again here today, there's not a lot of straights, it's all about the corners, and it's very, very tight, very, very twisty, and all the corners are very fast and very technical. So lap traffic can really ruin your race if you catch it in the wrong place.
Yeah, it certainly can. It's just luck. But Luke Fitchett still defending from Byron Johnson. It does look like Byron Johnson has slightly more pace than Luke Fitchett. So I think what is going to happen here is maybe Bill Harris could even get into play. With these two just scrapping and slowing each other up, really, it could bring Bill Harris into play, and then we could have a free scrap battle for third place. I mean, the race is not over for any spot on the podium. The first and second, they're just changing lap times every single lap. Last lap round for Marco Holt, slightly slower than Archie O'Brien, but he comes across the right line to set a 50.3, as Archie O'Brien comes across the line to set a 50.199. Almost that lap record pace again, and a personal best lap for him. So yeah, as you can see, some riders getting round some lap traffic. Billy Lawrence on your screen there, the 09, as they both get past pretty cleanly. But it looked like Luke Fitchett got hit the back marker at a better time, and now it's starting to bridge open the gap. So now we're really going to see if Byron Johnson has the pace to catch up to Luke Fitchett, then we know if it's just trying to get past Luke Fitchett that he's struggling with, because it's one thing catching up to someone, and it's another thing passing them.
Yeah, I mean, back to those leaders though. I mean, it's Archie O'Brien at this phase of the race is ever so slightly quicker, but as we come round the final corner and onto the final lap of the race, I don't think it is going to be enough. It's a new lap record for Mark Holt, a 50 dead, a 50.071, and Archie O'Brien lost 5 tenths due to back markers. So Mark Holt, the gap now 2.7. Unless he makes a mistake on this final lap, I don't think it's going to be enough, and that is a fantastic lap, a 50.071 from Marco Holt. And I know there's more pace to him, and I know we're going to be seeing more pace in race 3 from 2021's vice champion of the 50s, your championship leader from this year as well. He's already won 1 race this weekend, and as he comes into the back section of the track for the final time in race 2, he looks set to take a second. 3 more corners to go for the man with the minion helmet, who again has been absolutely fantastic today. It took a rough start from his rival once again, but it doesn't matter because Marco Holt, it's going to be 2 from 2. He comes to the line to take victory in race 2 here in the Mini GP 50s with a fantastic performance and a lap record once again on the penultimate lap of the race as well. And crucially, as Archie O'Brien continues to struggle with the start, he asserts his lead in the championship even further.
Yeah, he certainly does, and Luke Fitchett claims that 3rd place. He just managed to hold on, and yeah, it was a great race. Marco Holt just got his way, really got away first lap, and there's confirmation of that podium. Marco Holt getting the race win with Archie O'Brien in 2nd and Luke Fitchett in 3rd. Great ride for all 3. I mean, Marco Holt, from the first lap, he straight on it. It was almost identical to what he did yesterday, but Archie O'Brien managed just to keep tabs on him, and there is your top 10. Mark Holt taking the race win by 2.7 seconds as Archie O'Brien takes 2nd. Luke Fitchett coming home in 3rd, with Byron Johnson coming home in 4th. Bill Harrison 5th, and Harley Baker in 6th. Frankie Watson coming home in 7th, and finally Billy Lawrence in 8th place. So it was a great race as we expected, and now everyone's going to be wondering once again in race 3 what will happen if Archie O'Brien makes a good start.
Well, we have to wait and see. I mean, again, we saw O'Brien on the dummy grid in both the warm-up and getting ready for race 2 there, just getting his practice starts in over with the team. I mean, it must be a clutch problem. I mean, for that to happen in 2 races, for a rider of Archie's calibre, that doesn't happen. So we'll have to see what's going to happen in race 3. Can Archie O'Brien see what's going to happen? Can he get that start nailed, or will it be Marco Holt taking a clean sweep? Or can someone like Luke Fitchett or Byron Johnson get involved and potentially spoil the Minion Helmets man's day? Yeah.
And next up we have the Pit Bike 140s, which yesterday it was a great Extreme 200, which has Pit Bike 140s in it, so it can be quite a confusing class for everyone, for the commentators and for the people at home. It's a mixed class, it's quite an open class actually, as your Pit Bike 140s has some KTM 2-strokes it seems to be, but it was a great race yesterday. We have quite a few front runners and quite a lot of battles. Sullivan Mountsey was leading the way until he crashed, and I was speaking to him earlier and he seems pretty confident today that he can take the race 1 and race 2.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Of course, Sullivan Mountsey, you can see there in the centre of the screen alongside him, 3rd place in the Mini GP 70s Championship last year. Philip Soroviak, who's gone on to bigger and better things in the British Talent Cup, and I was talking about visually in race 1 how much he's improved. You can see, just standing at the side of the track, how much better he is than at this point last year. I mean, of course, he's a fantastic rider last year, and to finish 3rd in a very, very tight 70s championship that went to a 3-way title showdown in the last round at Clandau. And he just standing at the side of the track, and already he's improved so much coming into this season. So it really is great to see, and he is currently having a great season in the Extreme 200s, leading the championship after sweeping the last time out at Lid. So we'll have to see what Sullivan Mountsey can do. Let's get going then with the grid. It is Sullivan Mountsey from the pole position. Philip Soroviak, championship leader, goes off alongside him. Bailey Stewart Campbell starts in P3 with Rossi Banham in P4. Zach Torin and David Ferns make the 3rd row of the grid, with Chris Wells and James Dustin 7th and 8th. Noah Guillory and Mark Evans round out the top 10, with Jack Andrews and Martin Cochrane in P12. P13 is Lee Thompson with Owen Thomas in 14th. Sean Whitaker is 15th. Harrison McKay is 16th. Sam Smith in the 17th. Daniel Gilbert 18th. Clayton Edwards 19th. Ben Ridgewell 20th. And Adam Redding is in P21. We may have a few extra riders on the grid. I'm not quite sure if we can tell I'm not quite sure if I can tell who was there. Simon and Charlie Huntingford, I've just been told, making their way to the back of the grid. So nice to see them back. Haven't seen their names on. Clayton Edwards and P19, that's a name I haven't seen in a while either. So great to see Clayton back here at FAB. He was challenging for the 50s title last year. He is 50s champion from last year, rather, should I say. So great to see him back here at FAB and giving it a good old go.
Yeah, I mean, it should be a great race. If it was like anything that we've seen yesterday, it should be all about Sullivan Mansi and Philip Soroviak. But there is also Rossi Bannerman, many riders there that can just clean up the scraps if it's needed. And yeah, I think it should be a great race. And Philip Soroviak, as you mentioned, so confident on that motorcycle. You can just see the way he rides. And we just wait for the final checks to be done on the grid.
Absolutely. As we get ready to get going, the flag marshal holding. Can Sullivan Mansi make it the win that he thought he deserved yesterday? Can Philip Soroviak make it 2 from 2? As we wait, the green flag goes up at the back of the grid, the red flag walks away at the front, and we wait for the lights, which come on now. It's a long wait, but it's lights out. We're underway. It's a great start from Moundy. Soroviak to the inside, but Moundy sweeps round. Bailey Stewart Campbell sweeping up to P3 as well. Rossi Banham, not quite the start that he would have wanted. He maintains P4, but it is Sullivan Moundy that leads the way similarly to yesterday. Soroviak following though on that big bike style machine, and Sullivan Moundy on that Grand Prix style machine. Look at how sideways Sullivan Moundy is coming into the Holmes hairpin there. My goodness me, that was brilliant. We've seen some great photos this week from the FAB photographer of Sullivan Moundy getting all sorts of crossed up, but again there, brilliant stuff. He leads the way on that one.
Yeah, I mean, Philip Soroviak, he needs to stick with Sullivan Mansi, but Sullivan Mansi, his riding style is just crazy. He does absolutely everything right, but it's on the limit, which yesterday did bite him. But it's Bailey Stewart Campbell still in third place, which could just be there and maybe mess up Philip Soroviak. As I mentioned that, Bailey Stewart Campbell sits the fastest lap of the race so far. So yeah, she's on the pace straight away. But it's Sullivan Mansi who's everyone's eyes are on, because he is leading the way, and he is leading the way by just half a second. So the race is not over yet. Philip Soroviak though is keeping them honest, to be fair. He's trying as hard as he can. It's two completely different type of motorcycles. I mean, Sullivan Mansi is much more a traditional type. It's a Moto 4 bike that he's on, while Philip Soroviak, I believe, is on a KTM 85cc 2-stroke. And there is a rider down that's Guillory on the floor, also racing in the Mini GP70, so it's a big shame, and he really has less time actually to get that bike fixed because he's racing in two classes.
Yeah, hopefully not much damage there as Sullivan Mounty comes round to round off the second lap to 48.641. Very strong lap time there from Sullivan Mounty. Is that a lap record? No, it's not. It's about 3/10 off the lap record, which is set by Casey O'Gorman last year. Of course, Casey O'Gorman, one of the riders who sometimes turns up. We saw him at Lid this year on his pit bike, but of course he's off doing bigger and more interesting things, shall we say. Not to say that, of course, the Extreme 200s isn't interesting. He's just progressing his career. That's part of the fun of the Extreme 200, to be fair, is it's kind of you can kind of turn up and not turn up. It kind of whenever you suit your class. So you do get a lot of riders like Casey O'Gorman, for example, just showing up if they've got a free weekend to have a go. As again, Sullivan Mounty, rear of that bike, all sorts of trouble. And almost loses the front as well on the exit of the Wones hairpin. Oh, he is riding on the absolute edge, isn't he? But as I was saying, for example, Casey O'Gorman last year turned up for 2 rounds and came second in the championship. It's just, this kind of series. It's kind of you don't really know what's going to happen. You've got to take it race by race, weekend by weekend. And this weekend, it's Sullivan Mounty who's at the pace, but it's Philip Soroviak currently on top with Mounty's problems. And Mounty, though, he's pushing so hard. And again, look at that. Soroviak gets through lap traffic very smoothly, but Sullivan Mounty, he's basically drifting through the corners. I mean, I don't know how he's maintaining the lead if he's riding like that, because it must be costing him time, but somehow it's working, and it's putting on such a visual display as well.
Yeah, it just shows how much confidence Sullivan Mansi has on that motorcycle, and the confidence in himself. I mean, I asked him, are you going to win this next race? And he just straight up said, yes I am. And he loves the rear brake. I mean, he's just stamping on it going into the corners. You can see the bike making all shapes and sorts. But once you do that a couple of times, you start to get used to it and comfortable with it, which has happened to him, and now he's leading by 0.8 of a second from this man here, Philip Soroviak, just 8 tenths back, a 48.6 his fastest lap, which is just 1/10 off Sylvain Mansey's fastest lap. So Sylvain Mansey, it's not over yet. I mean, I don't think he's going to go away today. Sylvain Mansey yesterday, he did escape from the pack until his crash. So I think Philip Soroviak today has learnt from his mistake and realised from lap 1 he needs to go straight away. And Bailey Stewart-Campbell, she's just sitting there watching and learning from Philip Soroviak, which, as you see, doing doctor's dangle going into the hairpin. She's learning quite a lot from him, which these riders can use in different series. I mean, both of them obviously being Talent Cup riders, all 3 of them being Talent Cup riders, the first 3. So it's a testimony to show that this class is full of talent and they're all learning from each other. This race, what they're learning from each other here, they can use in different series such as the Talent Cup, and it's just how great, it just shows how great Fab is, really.
It really does. This is a really impressive ride from Bailey Stewart-Campbell. She's putting in a much stronger performance than she did in race 1, and is actually looking to challenge ahead into turn 1, and he's really looking for the move to the inside. Maybe no, can't make the gap appear, so he's going to stick on the back of Philip Soroviak for the time being. But it's a really impressive performance from Bailey Stewart-Campbell. Yesterday maybe not quite going his way, but now this time staying on the back. Soroviak not the best exit out of the penultimate corner there. That's allowed Mounty to pull a bit of a gap, who sets another fastest lap of 48.478. Not far off a Casey O'Gorman's lap record now, but still not quite confident enough that we might be seeing it broken, but the conditions today are absolutely lovely. Yes, it is a little bit more windy than it was yesterday. The track is warm, the sun is shining. It is a beautiful day here in Suffolk for round 3 of the FAB-Racing Mini Bike British Championship. And these Extreme Technologies guys, they're putting on a show for us. And this battle for P2 potentially hotting up as well. Soroviak maybe trying to shift his attention to the rear and to the fence instead of trying to stay with Sullivan Mountain at the moment, because he's got a lot of pressure from Bailey Stewart-Campbell.
Yeah, he does. And I mean, Philip Soroviak, you may just be right there. He's just trying to defend a bit more, and that is opening up the gap for Sullivan Mansey, which is going to help him a lot. He's going to be able to ride far more relaxed, knowing that Philip Soroviak is further back. We wait for the line. That's 1.3 seconds is the gap between first and second place. So yeah, the gap's slightly wider then, and it's not over for second place. I mean, Bailey Stewart-Campbell, they're going to want to try and just stay on the back and just try to find any way past. It's something similar, and it's just see Sullivan Mansey backing it in, but Bailey Stewart-Campbell, they're going to want to just try and find some way past. But there's still 5 laps to go. That's 5 laps to learn of where you can get past Philip Soroviak. So they may just be learning and just trying to understand Philip Soroviak and where Philip Soroviak is slightly weak and leaves the door open for a pass.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Sullivan Mounty, that's well, it's certainly a riding style, isn't it? I mean, some riders avoid the rear brake, as if their life depends on it. They just absolutely hate Sullivan Mounty using that thing all the way until he lets go of the front brake. I mean, he is all sorts of sideways coming into the corners, but it is fast, and that is maybe a new lap record for Sullivan Mounty. No, it is a quarter of a tenth of a second away from a lap record for Sullivan Mounty, so it's getting closer, but he's also running into some lap traffic now with 4 laps to go, so the opportunity maybe going amiss. He gets through there pretty smoothly though, through the Holmes hairpin. Behind him though as well, if Soroviak and Stewart-Campbell can get through the traffic cleaner, they might be able to make up a little bit of time here, but that was very plain from Sullivan Mounty to work his way through the lap traffic. The gap currently 1.7 seconds between himself and Soroviak as he's having go. Sullivan, Cerning coming through the penultimate section. Of course, Sullivan returning to the British Talent Cup at Donington earlier this year with a very successful ride, having been away from the bike for quite some time. He's a very talented rider, but sometimes life gets in the way. And he came back at Donington in the British Talent Cup, which of course many a Fab rider go on to take part in, and it's really the place to springboard young riders' careers off into BSB and WSBK and MotoGP and so much more. And it's a very, very competitive grid, and he's after a long time not racing, as Stewart-Campbell gets a good run out of the corner but is unable to make anything of it. Sullivan Mounty returning and having a great run, and it's great to see him back here at Fab today as well. Yeah,
it certainly is, and just 3 laps to go. It looks like the race is in Sullivan's hand unless if he makes a massive mistake, which of course the race is not over yet until the checker flag is out, so you never know. But his riding style, as you mentioned, is just perfect. He's practically getting his elbow on the ground, which is so impressive. A lot of these bikes, actually, even the Moto Team bikes, running Moto3 slick tyres, so in these conditions where it's hotter, it lets the tyres almost melt onto the track and it sticks like glue, and it's perfect so then these riders can get these lap times which are so close to the lap records. The lap records, in the Extreme 200 before the race, we thought Oh, well, it may not happen, but we're not far off now. We're 23 thousandths of a second off the lap record, which is absolutely nothing, but it's absolutely nothing between second and third place, between Philip Soroviak and Billy Stewart Campbell. But the top 3 riders actually were featured in the best Talent Cup race that we've probably ever seen. I mean, there was nothing separating them, and when I say nothing, I mean 0.000. There was nothing. It was a photo finish, and it was a tied winner between Johnny Garnes and Carter Brown, and both in the Vision Track team. So it was probably one of the happiest days for the Vision Track team, which of course have the academy here at FAB and are doing an amazing job as we head on to the last lap. Sullivan Mansi leading the way by 2.1 seconds. It looks like the race is all in his hand, but Philip Soroviak is setting his fastest lap of his race of 48.5. So he's left some in the bag, and it looks like Bailey Stewart Campbell's dropped back slightly, but it's all eyes are on Sullivan Mansi in this last half of the lap of the race. You just seen him backing it in. He always backs it in. He loves. And
that's
Gillery. Second crash for him, not what he'd be wanting. But Sullivan Mansi coming around the final few corners. There he is, going one more corner less. The final corner comes round it. Perfect race once again. Sullivan Mansi wins the race. Race 2, second race, first race win of the weekend. Should have been 2. Made a mistake in race 1, but he's not made any mistakes this time out, and it was an absolute perfect ride. And Philip Soroviak coming home in second, with Bailey Stewart Campbell coming home in third after that fierce scrap for second place.
Yeah, wonderful ride there from Sullivan Mansi. I think he actually backed off a little bit at the end to save the tyres, because it's so hot. Yes, it's so grippy for the riders out, but it also makes the tyres fall off quicker, and that actually could be something to watch out for in race 3s. If people are on old tyres, it could be starting to affect them come the end, along with the fatigue and the genuine, it's race 3, the weekend's wrapping up, let's get it over and done with. But a wonderful ride there by Sullivan Mansi, bringing it home, brings it into the dummy grid. That was absolutely brilliant, taking the win. Soroviak managed to hold on for P2 from Stuart Campbell in P3 there. So a great ride from all of those podium finishes. There you can see Sullivan Mansi winning by 2.2 seconds, with Soroviak in second and Stuart Campbell in third. Rossi Banner managed to bring it home in P4 with James Dutton in P5. David Ferns was P6 and Zach Torrin in P7. Jack Andrews, reigning champion, managed to bring it home in P8 with Mark Emmons and Chris Wells rounding out your top 10 for the Extreme 200s race 2. Of course, don't worry if you're an Extreme 200s fan, because they're not going anywhere. They'll be back for their race 3s later on as well.
Yeah, they will, and I think it's been more of the same once again. And really, Rossi Bannerman, James Dutton, the real question is, can they get back into the mix? Can they fight for the podium? They may be slightly underpowered on the Pit Bike 140 motorcycles, but anything can happen. This is motorcycle racing. This is why we love the sport. Anything can happen. It happened yesterday in race 1, which we're expecting to see a similar result in race 2, but that did not happen.
Now it is time to look forward to what was potentially the most dramatic race 1 that we've possibly seen in a long time in FAB Racing. The AC40 rookies, a photo finish after lap traffic got involved. You had Taylor Tomlinson, tumbling down from the lead after he lost the rear of the bike coming through the penultimate corner and fighting his way up to second on the line. And as Sebastian Gazlowski and Tyler Hartley duked it out, I mean, I couldn't believe my eyes when it happened. It was possibly the craziest Centaur race that I've ever seen.
Yeah, it certainly was. It had everything that we did not expect, to be honest. Taylor Tomlinson crashing out at the lead, and he made an amazing recovery, really. He kept his cool, and it's great to see for such young riders, because obviously this is some of their first ever race meetings. And there is all the parents also having their own race, running out to the grids to give their kids one friendly face to see before the lights go out, and one final tip of advice, telling their kids maybe just to go fast or be safe, or just give them some handy tips that they may have seen them warm up and remind them on, really.
I think it's it's worth a shout out to the parents as they do kind of run to wish their kids good luck. Is they also put in a lot of hard work. Yes, the riders, it's they've got to learn the craft. They're the ones out on track. But the parents, they give up a lot of time and money for these young guys to be out there. So they put in a lot along with the kids. It's a real family effort, and you get that family atmosphere here at FAB generally. But it individual, kind of families really putting a lot of effort and a lot of time, giving up weekends, giving up, doing normal family stuff to go and do mental family stuff on a racetrack. So it's great to see as Taylor Tomlinson leads the grid away on the warm-up lap. And, one warm-up lap as per normal here at FAB Racing, unless of course the race director decides against it, as Taylor Tomlinson goes from the pole position. He'll be looking to try and maintain that lead that he threw away yesterday with a simple yet harmful mistake. It shows just how easy it is to get it wrong on a mini moto. Taylor Tomlinson goes from the pole position. Tyler Hartley alongside him. Seth Hayward is in P3. Sebastian Gazlowski, a disappointing qualifying for his standards. He starts in P4. Annabelle McCartney is P5 with Logan Cousins in P6. Max Johnson and Kai Hawken make up the fourth row, and rounding up the top 10 is Preston Baker and Nicholas Dunwoody. That is your top 10 for the AC40 Rookies race. As they, some of the riders coming round now to finish off their warm-up lap and now, set their eyes on the lights, get in the zone. Of course, this is the rookies. This is, the first racing experience for many a young rider. And, these guys out there, some of them, this is only, some of them it might be their first race. I know it's not. Many of them, it's, their third round. Many of them have been racing it every round so far, and some of them, maintaining into the rookies from previous seasons. However, it is still a very competitive championship, because not only is there, the competition on track, but there's also the competition to learn and improve as the racing goes on. Last few riders now coming into the grid slots. Last words of advice from the parents. There's a few thumbs up here and there, last words of advice, good luck and all that. Go be fast, don't crash, be safe, I love you, etc. from the parents. The flag marshal, the green flag waved, or getting ready to be waved at the back of the grid. As the front flag marshal, the red flag goes away, we look to the lights go on, and we've got a few jump starts. Oh, the entire grid has had a jump start. I'm a bit lost for words here, Lewis, because half the field has gone racing and half the field is still sat there. I'm not sure if one person went and they all went, or if there's been a miscommunication somehow, red flags being waved, because the lights are definitely still on.
Yeah, the lights never went out at all, and all riders now are making their way back to the grid. I'm not really sure what happened there. There's only 2 riders still on the front 3 rows, which is something very unusual to see. I think you can almost count how many riders are left on that grid with your hands, which is just something that's very, very unusual to see. Obviously, these riders are still learning, the rookies, so these things will happen eventually in their career, and it's a good place that happens so early on in their career, so it's a safe environment, and it can happen really now rather than later.
I mean, again, that's a valuable lesson for many of them. Don't go when your competitors go, because I bet you money that one person went and they all saw them and oh goodness me, we're going, and then they all went. You got to keep your eyes on those lights. That's what matters, not what the other people are doing. It's all about what the lights are doing. We're getting ready to restart the race. It will still be full distance race, of course, 8 laps for these young riders out there. Hopefully no problems this time round. The flag marshal moves out of the way. Let's see what happens this time, shall we? Lights on for proper this time. Lights go out, no jump starts, and we're away. It's a great start from Taylor Tomlinson away. Sebastian Gazlowski, maybe not away as well as he would have hoped, but I believe he's still up into P2 as we continue further round. This time no jump starts, this time no accidents as well, so it's all clean away. Taylor Tomlinson once again leading the way.
Yeah, Sebastian Gazlowski made a great start in second place. Can he make a move on Taylor Tomlinson before Taylor Tomlinson can get away? Because yesterday Taylor Tomlinson was the main problem of himself, really. He dumped it down the road and he was leading by a long way. In the background there's another crash there from a rider. It looks like Seth Hayward, and it looks okay, remount on the motorcycle, which is what we love to see, but it's Taylor Tomlinson who leads the way. It's something that this season it's not been unusual to see. He's won 5 out of 6 races in the first 2 rounds, and here at round 3 he's looking as strong as ever and as confident as ever. And yesterday, even though he did crash, it looked like he didn't knock his confidence at all, which is great to see for such a young rider.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, got back on the bike, no damage, and managed to squeeze through and get second on the line. Great to see. I'm just wondering, I believe he may be having a transponder issue because he's not showing up on our live times, so hopefully that's just a problem. He hasn't forgotten to put it on the bike. So if you forget to put the transponder on the bike, you get disqualified. No, he's turned up now, so Taylor Tomlinson, seemingly an issue, but it's all good now. So Taylor Tomlinson is now classified as being in the race, so that's all good. He leads the way from Sebastian Gazlowski in P2, Tyler Hartley in P3. There were your podium finishes yesterday. Sebastian Gazlowski, of course, the only other rider to win a race so far this season in the AC40 rookies. He's won 2 now, hasn't he? He won yesterday in race 1 as well. But I mean, Taylor Tomlinson, I mean, obviously, he's a very, special talent in this field. He's solo, but part of the reason, he probably looks it seems like he's absolutely dominant, but again, part of that's because a lot of these riders are still learning. Some riders just come in and they're able just to grasp it so much quicker, or they've spent a lot more time on the bike, just not racing. And whatever the case may be for Taylor Tomlinson, he is a step ahead of the other riders at the moment with 6 laps to go. He leads the way, sets a 1 minute and 1/10 lap time that time round. Not quite a lap record, still a little bit off of what Finlay Polehill set in 2020, about 8/10 off of the lap record. But Taylor Tomlinson getting his eyes set ahead. Of course, we know the mini motos not quite on lap record pace this weekend. It may be hot, but it's also windy, and so it's harder for the mini motos when it's hot, because they overtake the highs so quickly, and the wind as well. It's not ideal when you're on a little bike.
No, it's certainly not, but this is an ideal scenario for Taylor Tomlinson. 1.6 second lead with just 6 laps to go. This race comes past so quick, and Taylor Tomlinson knows how to control a race. He's learned that from the first couple of rounds, but it's Sebastian Gieslowski who has problems on his hand. I mean, Tyler Hartley is absolutely on his rear of his motorcycle, just nothing separating this time round. He's practically glued to his back wheel, and there's just 5 laps to go as they cross the line. He's going to be wanting to try and find a way past, but on these smaller bikes it's slightly easier to get past, and this is such a tight track. But Taylor Tomlinson coming across the line and into the 59s. He's just 6/10 off the lap record now, and there's nothing separating Sebastian Gieslowski and Tyler Hartley, less than half a second at the moment. And you can just see taking 2 completely different lines there. Tyler Hartley just taking a wider line, trying to get a far more sweeping line and just try carry more corner speed, because these bikes, they don't have a lot of top end power, but obviously these riders are only 6 years old, so 45 mile per hour is plenty of speed, but taking different lines to try carry more corner speed can be absolutely crucial for these riders.
Yeah, it can be. Taylor Tomlinson still in the way. Gieslowski having problems behind. Tyler Hartley putting the pressure on. He managed to take the lead on the last lap of the race, and then on the line went from first to third. So while it was still a podium, heartbreak there for the young man, who'll be looking to maybe not get a second, third this weekend. I'm sure he'll be looking, to challenge Gieslowski for at least second, maybe, try and get up to Tomlinson as well. 4 laps to go this time by in the race 2 of the AC40 Rookies here at round 3 of the FAB-Racing British Mini Bike Championship. Hello, if you are just joining us, it's a pleasure to bring you on to sunny Suffolk here and the Ellough Park Raceway, and round 3 of the championship here much earlier in the season than we're normally at Ellough, which explains all the lap records and the nice weather that we're suddenly getting. I mean, a few years ago, absolute torrential rain when we came here. Now the sun is shining and the atmosphere in the booming crowd is up, as we always have here at FAB. It is a pleasure to bring you along for this journey. And here we can see further back, we've got some action as well, challenging for positions. I believe that's Nicholas Dunwoody and Annabelle McCartney fighting for that's P6, and they're fighting over. And Annabelle managed to squeeze past Nicholas on that last lap and get into that 6th place. And of course, Annabelle, one of the many talented female young riders that I always mention that we're seeing here at FAB. I mean, again, it's great to see a championship where we see so many young female riders coming through, and so many young female riders having a place they could call almost like a home and a real family community here at FAB that we have. And it's great to see Annabelle McCartney really putting on a good display there. As looking ahead though, once again Taylor Tomlinson extending the gap almost 5 seconds now back to Sebastian Gieslowski. But again, yesterday we saw him, it was only the last few laps of the race when he went down, and that changed things on its head.
Yeah, it certainly did. And Taylor Tomlinson, I believe he is slightly older than Sebastian, but they have a bit similar time on the bike, so maybe Sebastian, his mind just may be a bit more scientific, as you would say, and just wants to spend a bit more time learning the bike, learning the track, while Taylor Tomlinson just goes straight for it, and that is why he has a 4.7 second gap, almost 5 seconds, and this time round it probably will be 5 seconds, just 3 laps to go. So just 3 laps to go in this race. They head round the final corner now. Taylor Tomlinson, just to make it 2 laps to go in this race. Can he keep hold of his race win? Can he do it? It's a 59.7, getting even closer to the lap record now. The lap record obviously being a 59.313. So it's not too far off. We're seeing lap times coming down far faster than yesterday, it's looking. So just 2 laps to go. Can the lap record go, and can he extend his gap? It's now 7.3 seconds.
Well, he's got 1.5 laps really left to do it, and there's a bit of traffic coming up as well not too far ahead of Taylor Tomlinson, so he's got to get the conditions perfect, get the lines perfect, and then hopefully not catch traffic. And can he do it? Maybe. We'll have to wait and see as he comes around this tricky back section. I know on a very popular circuit that is not a very popular section, and potentially won't be seeing as much of next year. Of course, here at Ellough Park they've got the new track layout. We're not using that this year, but next year very much potential for us to use that big bank section you're just seeing in the back end of your shot as Tomlinson rounds the final corner and starts the final lap of the race. The yellow and black striped flag out for Tomlinson, so he knows that he's only got one more tour of this Ellough Park circuit left to go before he wins the second race of the weekend. 2 from 2 it will be for the young man who is, it's safe to say, has dominated so far this season. He has been just absolutely turned on. He turns up to a new track and just, instantly on the pace. He instantly knows, and it's potentially we could be seeing, Taylor Tomlinson. We could be seeing any of these riders, moving on, to international level motorsport in the future. And that is what's so wonderful about FAB, is you get to see these young riders, start their career and develop and become the superstars of tomorrow.
And yeah, you certainly can, and you can watch their careers live all the way through the ranks, starting all the way to FAB, to the likes of MotoGP. Even people at home can watch them live and watch them develop as Taylor Tomlinson comes round the final couple of corners for the penultimate corner as we head round to the right to the last corner. He gets himself tucked in as he takes the checker flag to take another dominant win from Sebastian Ghislaine. Taylor Tomlinson played it perfect. Yesterday it was not what he was wanting to do. It was a lot more work for himself, but today an absolute masterclass, and it's a 9.6 second win from Sebastian Ghislaine. Tyler Hartley coming home in third place. It was the gap slightly widened between them and Sebastian Ghislaine, but it was an amazing fight for second place, and it was an amazing win from Taylor Tomlinson. It's exactly what we want to see from these young riders.
Yeah, absolutely. Taylor Tomlinson, a very nice performance, and pulling off a bit of acrobatics there for the crowd and for the cameras. Obviously delighted with that win that he feels like he should have got yesterday as well, where for not a small yet costly mistake late on in the race. Again, just showing how easy it is to get it wrong and throw it all away here in motorsport, which is a real shame for him. But he manages to win race 2 from Sebastian Ghislaine. Tyler Hartley rounding out the podium in P3. Josh Perkins is in P4. Annabelle McCartney managed to get up to P5 at the end with Nicholas Dunwoody in P6. Logan Cousins is in P7. Max Johnson P8, and then Daisy Polden and Preston Baker rounding out the top 10. As we see there, your race winner Taylor Tomlinson exchange some words and letting a friend have a go on his motorcycle. It's great to see this real sense of friendship here from such a young age, and it is great to see, and a great race there for Taylor Tomlinson once again. And now, of course, it is time for the show that we've all been waiting for. It is time for race 2 of the LS2 Helmet Mini GP70 British Championship, the premier class here at FAB-Racing. And, well, we had a brilliant race 1, didn't we, Lewis? Super close from all of the top 5, neck and neck. We've seen accidents, we've seen drama, and, well, I'm sure the race 2 is going to present an amazing show once again.
Yeah, I mean, race 1, it was something else. It had everything you want, and I believe it's going to be a race that we're going to look back on for rounds to come. The championship leader Ronnie Harris crashing out of the race. It's everything that everything in the race happened in that one race. It was close battles. There was crashes. There was technical issues. There was every single type of drama you could ever ask for in a race, and it was a close battle. And it's close talent. I mean, all these riders on this LS2 Helmets Mini GP70 British Championship grid, they're all so fast, and it's great that the Michael Laverty Vision Track Racing Team Academy has came in and gave these riders help and support, as you can see by the awnings in the background and the bikes all stickered up in the Vision Track colours. They're giving these riders stepping stones to the World Championship, which is so great to see for these young British riders.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, Ronnie Harris and Ethan Sparks, the 2 Vision Track riders in this 70s field. And, well, the 2 championship favourites we'd see him at the moment. Of course, Ethan Sparks, reigning champion from last year, only sending around because he's not actually old enough to go into the British Talent Cup yet. Ronnie Harris, seemingly a changed man this season. Last year, he finished in 4th, was a good season overall, but no, really, major results. And then this year, out of the gates with a bang, and did the championship, of course, until race 1 yesterday, when he actually eye-sided coming into the back end of the track. The rear of the bike just gripping up and throwing him over, and he collected, I believe it was Ruben Bray, collected with him as well. It was a bit of battered and bruised, bit of a sore hand. We were speaking to him earlier, but he's confident coming into the day, and he wants to make amends. He wants to get a good result today. But again, yesterday, until that accident, it was a 5-way fight for the lead. Following that accident, it was a 3-way fight for the lead, and it was very, very close action throughout.
Yeah, it certainly is. And let's have a look at the grid with Henry McCartney starting in pole position, with Ethan Sparks in second place, Ruben Bray starting in third, and Marco Holt running at the second row, starting in fourth, Ronnie Harris fifth, Blake Wilson sixth, Wilson Dilks in seventh, Joshua Williams just been out in Spain, I believe won 2 races out there, so it's great to see him returning in 8th, Samuel Munson in 9th, Luke Fitchett starting in 10th, who we've just seen once again doing some amazing defending in the mini GP 50s. Ollie Stibbs will be starting in 11th, with Harry Payne, of course, had that big crash last round. It's great to see him back for this round, and he's so brave to be back, to be honest. And Noah Gilroy starting in 13th, who've just had an accident in the Extreme 200s, 2 crashes actually, so hopefully he'll be out to start the race. I don't currently see him. And Hayden Whiteman in his first weekend in the mini GP 70, starting in 14th position, so it's great to see so many new riders, new faces seeing the championship. Even Hayden Whiteman, I believe he watched the Lord of Lidden race and decided, I want to do this, and now here he is on the grid at FAB. So it's great to see that this series is so inspirational, and you can be too. Get yourself involved, go on FAB-Racing social media, find out how to get involved, as all the riders are making their final checks, looking at the lights, getting ready just to get the revs riding as the nerves are starting to rise for this mini GP70 race. This is the Premier class. Here we go. All riders look up to the lights. The lights are on and lights are out, and we go racing. Ethan Sparks makes a great start, but will he lead into turn 1? No, he won't. Yes, he will. Henry McCartney trying a slightly wider line there, but Marco Holt is on his tail in 3rd place, but he's making a move, diving up the inside, but he cannot make it work. Marco Holt staying in 3rd place, but it's Ethan Sparks who raced away yesterday. This was such a close race. Can we see it again? It's looking like it.
Yeah, absolutely, Mark Holt. We know he loves this track, and he slid up into 1st place yesterday, slid into 3rd today, looking to get it 2nd, but it is Ethan Sparks that leads the way from there goes Mark Holt looking to the inside. Can he get through? No, yes he does. So Mark Holt manages to slide through up into 2nd place. Great stuff there from Marco Holt to get past Henry McCartney, and he goes up into 2nd place. Of course, he's dominated both races here in the mini GP 50s, but it's Ethan Sparks leading from Holt in the 70s so far. The reigning champion Ethan Sparks gets away, and of course we saw a lap record in this yesterday. It was Ethan Sparks gets the lap record. Let's see if he can set another one, because now he's got a clear track early on. Let's see, but there's Bassels further behind as well. Blake Wilson managed to get up into P3 as well. Ronnie Harris now in P4. He'll be looking to move forward to make up to yesterday's disappointment. Henry McCartney dropping down to P5, unfortunately for him. That's not the best of starts. I'm sure that he'll be looking to set his sights forward, but it is Ethan Sparks on that number 62, your reigning LS2 Helmets Mini GP70 British champion, who is leading this race. But Mark Holt, he's on his tail, and we know he absolutely adores this track. He's been absolutely on it in the 50s. Let's see if he can sneak forward in the 70s as well. Yeah,
Mark Holt, such an aggressive move in that first lap, dropping Henry McCartney to 5th place, as he just couldn't get on the throttle and couldn't get that drive after getting forced to take such a wide and then through to the flip-flop, such a tight line, which just meant he got a terrible drive. But we're already in the 47s, we're 47.9, just 1/10 off the lap record on the 2nd lap of the race. Ethan Sparks is absolutely on it. Even Marco Holt in the 47.9. There's nothing separating them. Marco Holt just trying to keep tabs on Ethan Sparks, because Ethan Sparks, of course, is last year's champion, and he's trying to make it the first ever mini GP70 2-time champion, which would be an incredible result for the Vision Track riders. Blake Wilson, of course, in a great place right now in 3rd place. He'll be absolutely delighted to come home in that. But there's still 10 laps to go. There's still so much to be decided. Ronnie Harris in 4th place, so he has some tough competition. You can see it there, just a train of riders. Ronnie Harris and Henry McCartney just behind Blake Wilson, trying to get this 3rd place, and there's nothing separating them. There's battles all the way down. No matter what position you're in this race, you're almost guaranteed to get a battle.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, of course, Sparks has
and we have a new lap record.
That is a new lap record, ever so slightly a new lap record, but it's 47.826 from Ethan Sparks. Sets his own new lap record, the one that he beat his also own lap record from yesterday in race 1. So Sparks already flying along as we're seeing a battle further back. Ronnie Harris on Blake Wilson trying to get up into P3. Ronnie Harris has got a really classical riding style, really, a lot of riders you see nowadays get super low to the ground. He's just very cool, gets his knee down it perfectly, stays pretty upright body position wise, but it works. He's super fast, was leading the championship. Marco Holt now a new lap record of 47.3 for Marco Holt. That is 5/10 off of Sparks' time. That is rapid, and Marco Holt, out of absolute nowhere, is on the rear of the race leader. He is turning it on out of nowhere, and here is Marco Holt. He's dominated in the 50s, and now he's looking to dominate in the 17 as well. What a lap from the man in P2.
Yeah, you could just see it, that lap. He was just getting closer and closer, and as he came around the last corner, I did think Marco Holt is on some lap here. He's on his back wheel. He's looking for any way past just 8 laps to go. Marco Holt, a 47.3. That is so fast, and Ethan Sparks, he will not know just yet that Marco Holt is on his tail. He'll need to have a little look behind him, or he could potentially be able to hear him, because Marco Holt's practically close to his lap wheel, and he looked like he wanted to take a little inside peek there, but Ethan Sparks cuts him off, and Marco Holt looks to be in control of this race right now. He looks to have the pace, and both riders there, a 47.7. They're both doing identical lap times now, and there's confirmation of that incredible lap for Marco Holt.
5/10 off. That is ridiculous from Marco Holt, and he's pushing Ethan Sparks along almost. He is all over the back of him. He just needs to make the gap where he's looking. I thought they were actually going to touch coming around last corner, but they were that close, and Marco Holt is all over the rear wheel of Ethan Sparks. 7 laps to go. Oh boy, we've got a race in our hands now, don't we? It's Sparks from Holt in P1 and T2. The gap was a 1/10 of a second at the line last time. It's a little bit bigger, but that could be because Holt is trying to line up a move coming into turn 1. He gets a really good run coming out of the final corner. Can he make the gap here? I don't think he's going to be quite close enough. No, he isn't. Gap's a little bit bigger. It's 2/10 this time, so Sparks still leading, but 6 laps to go. Further back as well, Wilson, Harris, McCartney, they're still all fighting as well, but they've faded away from the battle for the lead. It's all about these two to win this race. We've got reigning champion Sparks against 50s vice champion and championship leader Marco Holt. This is a battle for the ages already, and I can tell this is going to go one way or the other, and it is so close. Look at Marco Holt, just nothing but separating between the pair of them, and Sparks still leading, but Marco Holt, well, it's so close between them. He seems to have the pace at the moment, but Sparks is putting the bike exactly where it needs to be.
Yeah, and the battle for third place is still racing on as well. Blake Wilson still in third place, but Ronnie Harris, who of course crashed out yesterday, wants him past, but he cannot find any way past Henry McCartney slightly. Oh, and Marco Holt is down in the first corner. He is down, he's pushing so hard, and he's absolutely distraught with that, but they were just pushing so hard. I mean, you set 47.3s, and eventually the bike bites you, and the bike is damaged there. Marco Holt, he is so upset with that. He knew a race win was on the cards, and that bike is taking a beat, and you've seen it just hit off the ground as we cut to them, and Marco Holt is just, he's so upset, and you cannot blame him for that.
Devastation for Marco Holt. I mean, he had so much pace, and I feel so sympathetic for him. I mean, they almost touched again coming out through the last corner. I'm not sure if he was just getting a bit impatient maybe under the helmet, because I think he was getting frustrated. He knew he had the pace, and that's got to be a very nice sight for Ethan Sparks to go through turn 1 and see his competitor sidelined and out of the race with 4 laps to go. Ethan Sparks, all he's got to do now is cruise on home, and he will, as Blake Wilson manages to slide up into P2 as a result of Marco Holt now dropping down the order. And all of the riders, to be fair, setting very competitive lap times now. Ethan Sparks is now, they're all lapping, pretty quickly, but, Marco Holt just had such pace on board that 58 machine, and that is a big shame. And, we've been robbed of a fantastic battle as well, which is on a shame, but that is motorsport.
Yeah, and here is the battle for second place now. That it's going to mean it matters even more for these championship points. Ronnie Harris is trying to gain back some championship points that he lost yesterday from his mistake, but it's just 3 laps to go in this race. Blake Wilson still in second place. He'll be buzzing with that result. I mean, he's looking so great. It's the best I've actually seen him ride, and Henry McCartney's still there. Obviously started in pole position, so maybe not where he wants to be in 4th place, but the race is not over just yet. Ethan Sparks is still up front by 4.8 seconds now, so it looks like he is up the road and in complete control of the race. He will have seen Marco on the side of the tyre barrier there, and know that he is clear home if he can just stay on the bike. And there's Henry McCartney, best lap of 48.1. That is still incredibly fast. All these riders are so fast, 5.4 seconds off the lead, so it does not look like there's a chance for him to win the race, but there's a high chance that he can still get second place. I mean, these free rider train has been going on for almost the whole race now, and Blake Wilson has been leading the way almost since lap 1 with this train, and that lap round he set his best lap of his race with 48.2, so he's still pushing as hard as he can. And Ronnie Harris also setting his fastest lap with a 48.1, so Ronnie Harris looks to have the pace right now, but he's just trying to find any way past, and he cannot find any way past Blake Wilson. He's been defending great all this race, and he's kept up this pressure. Ronnie Harris obviously leading the championship up till yesterday, and with a championship leader on your back, you may just feel the pressure and feel Ronnie Harris was trying to pile on the pressure as much as he can, but Blake Wilson is not giving in. Blake Wilson is keeping this cool, and there on your screen there you have the 78 of Joshua Williams, of course, having a great ride out in Spain as I mentioned. But we go into the last lap now. It's Ethan Sparks who leads the way by 4.4 seconds. It is in the bag if he can just keep on it. It looked to be a great race, but Marco Holt, he just made a slight mistake, and that happens sometimes in racing. He has nothing to be too upset about though, because he did do a 47.3. That is an incredible lap time. He will know he has the pace for the final race of the day. There's still one more race, but for this race, all eyes are on Sparks in his last lap. He's dominated it. From lap 1, he kept up the pressure from Marco Holt. He made Marco Holt crack, and it's Ethan Sparks who comes round the final 3 corners out the hairpin to the left, then to the right, round the last corner, and he will be absolutely buzzing with that checker flag. Will be waving, and he is waving to the crowd. He is so happy. Ethan Sparks will be so proud of that win, and it's Blake Wilson who comes home in second place and Ronnie Harris in third, and we see Ethan Sparks with some sportsmanship checking that Marco Holt is okay. You love to see that. I mean, Marco Holt, he was so distraught with that, but it is great to see such friendship from this. There's a couple of riders also stop and just see if Holt is okay, because that was such a big accident from him. And there you see it, Henry McCartney also checking they're alright. A little handshake. It's great to see. This is what FAB is all about. Such friendship, such commitment, and such fast riders.
It is, as we get some more acrobatics from Ethan Sparks there. Delighted with that victory. Of course, that means he extends his championship lead, pulls a little wheelie as well, but that is a fantastic sight to see. Obviously enemies on the track, nothing separating them, but then the second the checkered flag falls, friends once again. What a great race we've been treated to. Race 2 of the Mini GP 70s, but don't worry, we've still got another race to come, and we've still got chance for Marco Holt to get back out there and show Ethan Sparks what he can do. Will he be able to challenge in race 3 of the LS2 Helmet British Mini GP 70s Championship? We'll have to wait and see. Still another race yet to come, and there is Marco Holt. Devastating, yet that is what happens sometimes. Ethan Sparks manages to take the win from Blake Wilson in P2. Ronnie Harris finishes in P3. Henry McCartney was 4th with Ruben Gray in P5. Joshua Williams is P6. Samuel Monton in 7th. Wilson Dilks in P8. And then rounding out the top 10, we have Luke Fitchett and Ollie Sims here at the LS2 Helmet Mini GP 70 British Championship. What a shame for Marco Holt, but don't worry, there's still race 3 to come for him to fight back.
Yeah, and now next up we're going to have the Moto Team class. Yesterday this produced lap records again. I mean, Will Howarth, he was unstoppable yesterday. He just looked to be on it, but he did have a technical problem, it looked to see. So it's really going to be all eyes on Will Howarth again this race to see what can come. And obviously at the start of the race last time we did have quite a big jump start from Jay King, who we've been talking about for the past day now. We've been calling him Jump Start Jay King. We've been taunting him about it, and we were speaking to him this morning, and he's basically said to us that the bike's been not getting off the line all year, and now they fixed it, and now, well, it was a shock to the system, and it got away
too well, didn't it? Of course, I don't think it really compares to the jump start of like 3/4 of the rookies field, but it was still a very, very big jump away from the lights, and he basically said, he started going, and he thought, well, I'm just going to go now, aren't I? So he just floored him, and it didn't actually affect him in the end. He was still the winner of the standard class race, and it didn't drop him any positions. He was so far ahead of the people behind him as we got some action from the nearby airfield. plane coming down. Very nice to see. Some lovely atmosphere here at Lid, of course. Oh, not Lid? We're at Ellough Park. Some lovely atmosphere at Ellough Park, of course. It is a very nice part of the world here in sunny Suffolk. The sun seems to have taken a little bit of a trip away behind some clouds. Hopefully it comes back out, because it is nice and warm here, albeit a bit windy here in Suffolk in the southeast of England. As we just get ready, the motor team guys just waiting, a little bit of debris being cleared up from the race prior. So hopefully that gets cleared up quickly and we can get the motor team boys out onto the grid. But yeah, as you said, it was it was the Will Howarth show yesterday, wasn't it? And Jay King with that massive jump start. I mean, we were talking about it earlier, of course, the jump starts. It's actually surprisingly easy to do here at Liz, because the start light mechanism is actually on the outside of race control. So the race director, Roger Keys, has to go down and stand outside of race control in the eyesight of all of the riders. And what you get is sometimes riders thinking they can be a bit cheeky and watch Roger and see when he goes to press the lights and then try and go then, but then you get a jump start, and that's a penalty, unfortunately. But we haven't seen too many of that actually this year, to be fair. We've only seen Jay and then the rookies. Apart from that, it's all been pretty clean. So hopefully we can say that we're in the moto team this time by.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, with the lights, there's only 2 small lights. There's not that many lights to watch, so sometimes it can be hard to see, especially when the sun's out. It's just hitting off the light at a strange angle. It can be hard for these riders, but it's still no excuse. I mean, especially whenever you're looking over at Roger trying to get an advantage, and Roger will know you're looking and will sometimes pretend to press him, but he's not really. I mean, it's just mind games, and we wait for these riders to go
the
out.
Race director and the riders.
Exactly.
Oh, only at FAB-Racing as the motor team guys start to head out onto the grid. And hopefully no jump starts this time. But once again, it was all Will Howarth yesterday in motor team, which is a bit of a confusing class. It's a bit more simple this year because they got rid of the pit bikes, but it's all about the bike and not about the rider. So because they got rid of the pit bikes, it's not so confusing this year. But what you get sometimes is you get different riders on the bike, and you can't tell because the name that you'll be seeing on your screen, see some very grey clouds coming over. It was scheduled to rain earlier in the week. And then it said it was going to be sunny the last time I checked, so hopefully no rain due to come down. But yeah, here in Moto Team, the name that you'll be seeing on the side of your screen is the name of the bike that's entered, but because they changed the regulations, so it's all kind of these GP-style machines this year, it's usually the person who's entered. So it's a little bit easier this year than it was last year. See there, that's Will Howarth on the inside.
Will Howarth actually at the back of the grid there.
And, Will Howarth is at the back of the grid. Something very weird going on there. Will Howarth's gone to the back of the grid. That's actually Jason Pugh alongside Jay King that you're seeing there. So that's a bit confusing. I'm not sure what's going on with Will Howarth, but we'll have to wait and see as we get out onto our formation map.
Yeah, it's strange there. I mean, Will Howarth, it's definitely going to make life a lot more difficult starting from back there, but maybe he might just think he has the pace. And yeah, it should be a great race today. And as we have a look at the grid with what should be Will Howarth starting in pole position with Jason Pugh in second, Jamie King hopefully a better start this time round, starting in third with Jack Andrews hopefully staying on the bike this time round. He did make a good recovery after crashing, starting in fourth, Scott Jewett in fifth and Malcolm Stein in sixth, Jamie Diss starting in seventh and Philip Joyce in eighth, Linton DeMelio starting in ninth and Ryan Button in 10th. John Keats in 11th, who his objective this weekend is not John Keats actually on the bike.
Ross Morgan is
it's Ross Morgan, yes. And his objective is not to come last. And so far he's done that, and Ian Baker will be starting in 12th, rounding off the grid.
Yeah, so a pretty decently sized moto team grid here this weekend. Sometimes it's a bit small, but good to see. As Jay King, I've just seen out of our commentary box windows, you see some more of the Ellough Park scenery as a plane flying overhead. Just looking behind, probably thinking, well, what is Will actually doing? Because he is stopping very far. You know what? I think he's trying to do a last to first. Because he's not sat on pole. I mean, you can't quite see him. Race controller confused, I've just been told in my ear, and then someone's actually going, no, you can't see him. You can actually just see him at the back of the camera shot. The flag marshal stood next to him. I'm convinced he's trying to do a last to first challenge. Let's find out, shall we? Red lights go on. Red lights out, we're underway here in the motor team. Will Howarth doesn't get a great getaway at the back, but we'll have to see what happens. And it's a great start there from Pugh. He manages to get away really well on that number 8 machine. Jay King, not the best start, but of course at least he waited for the light this time around. So it's Pugh from King who gets away. But, the story of the day at the moment, what is Will Howarth doing? He's already carving his way through the pack, at the back of the pack. Well, what on earth is going on?
Yeah, it's quite a strange thing to do. Will Howarth obviously maybe just wanted a bit more fun. He did set lap records yesterday, so he clearly knows he has the pace, and he thinks he has the pace even for some fast riders like Jamie King and Jason Pugh. I mean, they're so fast, so it's quite a risky thing to do to go that far back. Only 10 riders showing up on their timing right now, so he's already diving up the inside, so we can just see out our commentary box.
That's into fifth place.
He's in fifth. So he's made up so much time in this first lap, and now all eyes are going to be on him. Here he is on our screen right now, getting ready, going ready outside a triple free bike, and already he is going to be up into
fourth place. Fifth. Is it fourth? Fifth?
Just behind Jamie King.
Yeah, so it's saying that Jack Andrews is leading, even though Jason Pugh's leading. It's saying Jason Pugh and Jay King are at the back. So I'm not entirely sure what's going on, but that's Will Howarth looking to the outside of Jay King and sweeping past Jay King. So Jack Andrews up next. So that is up into third place for Will Howarth. He must be doing a last to first. That, I'm not sure if that's just having a laugh or that's just I'm better than all of you. I need to have a word with him over the lunch break, because that is unbelievable from Will Howarth. And at the moment, it's been 1.5 laps and he's already up to third. He's pulling off and he's diving down the inside of Jack Andrews into second place. Only Jason Pugh to go, and Will Howarth, I'm honest, I don't really know what to say. This is unbelievable. Will Howarth, he's up to second already. I mean, Lewis, obviously, I'm not sure if you've ever done the last to first before. I mean, you obviously you ride yourself and you race yourself, but are you actually allowed to do that?
Yeah, I mean, you can if you want, but not many people want to do it. I think you might just be trying to give us more of a show and maybe more fun for himself, because there's nothing really too fun sometimes running at the front, because obviously Darren Anderson's not here this time out, so he's running at the front by himself and just trying to beat his own lap times, and maybe he's not enjoying that as much. You know, the best I've ever done was last of fourth, and that felt pretty amazing, so he will be feeling so good right now, and it'll also be destroying every single rider's confidence that he's going past. The fact that he's making this much time, I mean, he passed Jamie King within 1 or 2 laps, and Jamie looked at him and seen how far back he was. That was destroyed him, and Jason Pugh, he's right in his back, and watched, this will be a great lap from a 52.8.
Just 13 thousandths, no, it's 100th of a second even, lap record there for Will Howarth. Great lap, and that, bear in mind, he's chasing down Pugh as well. He's been fighting his way through, so Howarth absolutely on it. Last by about 10 grid slots, and now he's fighting for the lead in 3 laps. Honestly, I'm struggling to think about what to say. There you go, last first, done. It's pretty easy, wasn't it? Will Howarth, what a ride. What a rider, what a performance, and it's been 3 laps from last to first. I don't really know what to say. I mean, obviously it's a shame that Darren Anderson isn't here this weekend, because he wouldn't be bored, I guess it's safe to say. But apparently he's so bored of being out on the front, he's set himself a challenge that he's conquered in 3 laps. Take a bow. That's just unbelievable. Yeah, I mean, and still 8 laps to go in this race, so plenty of time to make a gap and make yourself nice and comfortable. It's already up to 1.1 seconds. I mean, Jason Pugh will be seeing this and he will be like, how has he done this? Jason Pugh will not know how he's done this, and Jason Pugh cannot stick with him. It looks like the gap is just widening. But the thing is, Will Howarth, he has double tracked him this weekend, of course, also in the senior mini motos, and we were speaking to him yesterday, and this is maybe another attempt at trying to make some better memories at his track. Of course, had a brake failure last year in the senior mini motos, going over the tyre wall, such a spectacular crash, and now he's just trying to make more memories. Something else you can say he's done here is go from last to first. But one thing that Will Howarth needs to work on, needs to try and not do right now, is try and overstep the mark. As soon as you overstep the mark on a motorcycle, they're so unforgiving. It takes one little chance to go in the throttle too early, or one little too hard squeezing the brakes for too late, and then you're down on the deck. And just 7 laps to go in this race, already a 3-second lead. That is the last thing that he wants to do. Yeah, of course, but it's been domination so far this weekend from Will Howarth, and domination, it seems set to continue. What a performance that we're already seeing with 7 laps to go. Yeah, as you said, I mean, all it takes is one little margin. I mean, we saw with Mark Holt in race 2 of the GP70s, I mean, lap record, demolished the lap record that had been set earlier in that race by 0.5 of a second, and then ever so slightly oversteps his mark and down on the floor, out of the race. That is all it takes. So Will Howarth, he's got he can push. He's already coming to lap some traffic. he can push. Got some battles further back as well, which is great to see. He can push, and he can try and get lap records and try and lap everyone, but he's not going to overstep the mark. He's not going to push too hard. Further back in the back, got some action going as well. A bit of a 5-bike train going on, coming into the back end of the circuit. I believe this is Linton Demiola out the front in the number 41. GP bike, obviously pit bikes aren't really allowed anymore. You have to have a larger wheel motorcycle. You're not allowed the little 12-inch wheels. He's leading this pack. Philip Joyce, Scott Jewett, Malcolm Stein, Gold, Jamie Diss as well in the background. So a bit of a train coming, maybe some fighting going. We've got half the race left, 6 laps left to go here in the Moto team race. Demiola holding on to 5th place again. Another rider who we know is very good at defending. He's able just to kind of get his position off the start, and that's usually where he stays all race. He just kind of runs his own thing, just keeps everyone else behind him and just finishes. And that's what he's really good at, and that's what he's done so far this season. And again, we're seeing here in race 2, that's what he's doing. Just got into that 5th place and he's holding on to it.
Yes, he's holding on for his dear life because it's such a big train behind him. I mean, Philip Joyce is on his tail. He's wanting to try and find any way past, and there's a small gap, and there's another 3 riders behind them. Scott Jewett, Malcolm Stein and Jamie Diss and Ryan Button, all there. They're all ready to pounce for this 5th place. It's such close racing here in the Moto team, but it's great to see that there was racing everywhere, and there's Will Howarth getting past some lap traffic. I believe that is the Welsh wizard himself.
Yeah, I believe that is Ross Morgan is getting past. It's his first time on 2 wheels here. Ross Morgan is usually on the sidecar, and he said his goal wasn't to finish last. Let's be fair, he's in last, so he's doing a good enough job by my book. But yeah, Will Howarth, of course. It's great to see you. It is good to see a healthy motor team. Sometimes you get quite a small motor team grid. So 12 riders is great to see. It is of course a very, very cheap form of racing. It's the cheapest form of racing you can really get. Really, all you have to do is basically buy a bike, put a number on it, and you can go. It is it's proper racing. If you fancy getting involved at home, this is potentially the perfect way for you to get involved. Of course, you can go and check out the FAB-Racing website or the FAB-Racing Facebook page for more information on that. Maybe you can come and join in, or maybe you can join in one of the other classes as well. I mean, pit bikes is so popular. They now have a reserve list for races. You have to book your way in advance to races. How that shows the popularity of the pit bike 140 class here. Of course, for the seniors though, this is a very cheap, very viable alternative. Of course, we've got a young kid who maybe wants to get involved as well. The mini motos, the mini GPs as well. They're a perfect way to start a fledgling motorcycle career. So of course, make sure that you check out those places if you fancy giving it a go. You've got a family member who fancies giving it a go, and of course FAB is a wonderful community here. It is a real family feel, and everyone gets on so well with one another. I'm sure Lewis can vouch for that as well. So it is a lovely place to be, and of course you get to enjoy some racing action every once in a while. So it is a great place to be, and Motor Team is one of the finest places, one of the cheapest places as well that you can go racing.
Yeah, as you say, it's practically just a standard bike with some race fairings put on it, or in Linton's case, it's just take a fairing off the front. I mean, that's even a cheaper way to do it. You just take the fairing off, and then if you do crash, it's less damage and less things to break, really. So it's a great class, and just a great race. And there's another back marker, Ian Baker, that they're just trying to maneuver around. Maybe we can see something like before, like we've seen yesterday, back markers coming into play. It just depends whenever you hit one to getting past it perfectly, but then the 111 of Malcolm Stein getting held up slightly, so it just depends when you get held up by back markers, but it's all about luck. Sometimes it plays in your favour, sometimes it can completely go against you. But Will Howarth, we've not mentioned him in a little while. He's put his gap up to 3.3 seconds. It just looks like he's cooled off. He did a 54 that time round, a high 54, 54.9, which is almost 2 seconds off the lap record, just over 2 seconds off the lap record that he just set. So he's held up a little bit, he's just relaxed himself into the race, just 2 laps to go. It's time just to not make any mistakes and not make any silly manoeuvres, which for Will Howarth's case, he's quite a mature rider, he's very experienced, so he knows that it's not worth doing that. But Will Howarth, he's just put a dominant performance, and battles are still raging on all the way down the grid. Jamie Diss looking to find any way past Scott Jewett, but it didn't look like he could find any way past. But just the race is getting on now, heading on to the last lap of the race. Will Howarth leading the way. He's done something that is simply magical. I mean, Will Howarth, he went from last place and some. There was about 3 or 4 rows from the bike in front of him. He's met a starting pole position, but he decided, I want to have a bit of fun, and that has paid off. He's put in a dominant performance. It's made all the competition. He's scared them all, really. He's getting past the black traffic, but he will not care. He will not care if this holds him up. He has a 3.4 second lead, and that is Ian Baker. He's just trying to find any way past. He's found the way past. He's just being nice and tentative. He doesn't want to make any silly mistakes on this last half of the lap as we head down to the hairpin. Hard on the brakes, tip 10, looks to find a way around. He does a wheelie, showboating to all the other riders. There's just one corner left, a little wheelie out there too. He comes across to see the checker flag and the celebration to come across the line. He will be delighted with that. You can see showboating, you can see he's happy with that. He put on a dominant performance, and he knows that everyone on the grid will be wondering the same thing as us. How has he done that?
Last to first, it's not often you say that, and it's not often you go from last to first in 3 laps. Will Howarth take a bow. What a performance. I mean, again, it's almost like he's bored. Like, I honestly don't know how else to put it. He's just doing it for fun, wheeling that, and the fact that he did it in 3 laps as well, I don't really know what else to say. What a performance from Will Howarth. Caps off what has been a fantastic season for him so far, and that's 2 wins from 2, and that is a very, very special win indeed. What a performance from Will Howarth, setting a new lap record as well. Last to first, Jason Pugh manages to bring it home in P2. And it's Jack Andrews. He takes the victory in the motor team standard class. He was P3 overall, with a no longer jump start Jamie King in P4 overall. Then Linton Dimiola is P5 with Malcolm Stein in P6. Philip Joyce is P7, and then Scott Jewett third place in motor team standard. He's P8 with Jamie Diss and Ryan Button rounding out the top 10. That will be it for race 2 for the moto team class. And of course, as always, they'll be back a little bit later on. So don't be afraid. Will Howarth, let's see what antics he's going to get up to, shall we?
Yeah, I mean, great performance there from Will Howarth. It's great to see, and it was a dominant performance as no one could take that away from him. The fact you start from last on the grid and then decide, oh yeah, I'll just do 2 or 3 rows from the second last bike and then still win the race. I mean, one thing it would have also done with him carving through the traffic, it may have also taught the likes of Ryan Button, Jamie Diss, Scott Jewett, riders that normally wouldn't be up front with Will Howarth. It may have taught them 1 or 2 things, just following them, even if it's just for a couple of corners. They may have learned a new braking marker or learned a different line that they were previously not taking. But that was an incredible race, an incredible end to the motor team race 2.
And that will be it for the morning's running here on Sunday of round 3 of the FAB-Racing British Mini Bike Championship here at Ellough Park. Now we're going on a lunch break, of course. I know many of the families and the teams out there having barbecues last night. I'm sure they've got some leftovers to enjoy. But don't go anywhere, because we'll be back later this afternoon for the remaining race 2s. And of course, we've got all of our race 3s to look forward to as well. So make sure you don't go anywhere. We'll be back to bring you the rest of the action here from Ellough.